Hello, welcome to Flower Juice. My name's John McDonald, and today we're going to make basically a bridal bouquet that's on a frame. Now, when I say on a frame, you can create lots of different types of structures that you could use to create a bridal bouquet with. But in some ways, it's just as easy to keep an eye out and maybe buy some. So I found this in one of the kind of home decor shops. This is literally for going on a wall. It's not my cup of tea, to be honest, but as soon as I saw it, I thought this is a really interesting structure. So we're going to turn this into a bouquet that would be suitable for a simple wedding or, yeah, basically a wedding bouquet. So let's get started. Okay, so we've got our frame, and as I say, this is just like a simple frame that I bought in a DIY store or a home decor store. So what we need to do is we need to convert this by adding a handle. Now on the back here, there was like a little hook for hanging. I've taken that off because it was rattling, and I'm going to use really a thick gauge wire to make our handle. So let's just make these into some big hairpins at the moment. So in a way, this is giving us the length of our handle as well. Pair of pliers is really good. I keep meaning to buy really a pair of ones that would be like jewellery ones, because that would be really useful, and I never do it, but I should. So as you can see then, it's just a case of bringing that down. So depending on what you're making, there's different ways to do anything. And for me, this is probably the best way to do this. And this is more than enough wire for the weight of this holder. But what I'm really doing is just giving the actual body of it a bit more weight. See, this is where your pliers are good for just getting in there. And I'm going to use a little bit of pot tape for this. And I'll put a wee bit down the bottom as well. So your handle, you can make it into whatever you want. At the end of the day, it just needs to be strong enough, not got any spiky bits, and not going to cause any problems. So that is our handle. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tape this with some not pot tape, the tape you use for corsages. That'll just give us a nice finish. And what we might as well do is finish the handle now. So this could be finished with ribbon, or it could be finished with anything actually. What I want to do is, I am thinking I'm going to use this, but this is going to take forever, but let us just do it anyway. Now, I'm going to use glue, and what we're going to do is we're going to start by gluing at the back. So what I'd like to do is glue some leaves, and this is going to create us a platform really for our flowers to rest on. So we'll just take off our stems. Now, it would be possible to make another base that goes on the back, so like a little circle, a little ring is possible. I don't do a lot of gluing, so I know some of you out there will be much better at it than me, but it is really handy to have. My impression is that it's good to just pre-glue things, or get your glue on it and let it sit for a second, and then it gets tacky. So I've got these little chrysanths, little Santini chrysanths, and they're going to be our main base for this. So we'll get a wee bit of glue on them just now. So, let us add this in. Now this is where it's going to get interesting because we're going to have to add a little bit of glue there. So this glue is specifically designed for use with flowers and plants. And you can use it with non-plants as well. So it is quite handy just to have in general as a general glue. When I first started with flowers, all the wedding work used to be wired, and of course I never got near it. And then things moved on and we started using artificial foam, but artificial foam into a bouquet holder, a bridie holder. And that was great, other than you ended up using hot glue gun. And the hot glue was so cruel. It was just wicked. Really, it was horrible. You would do all this wedding work and then at the weekend, by the time you'd done it all, your hands were all burnt and it just wasn't good at all. So then things moved forward a little bit and we now have the bridal holders but with the wet oasis. So then the worry with that is, will things fall out? So then we're back to wiring things to put them into the wet foam. But at least with the wet foam you know that the flowers have a water source, which is good. Right, we're going to let that just have a minute to basically just kind of bind. So it's interesting, when I had my own shop, we did a lot of wedding work and every bride would come in and say that she wanted something different and something unique. And then because people are so worried about doing something different, they end up having pretty much what is the fashion at that moment. So they never really had the unique thing that they thought they would have. So that is our bouquet. Now, it could be left straight on there, or it can actually be, you could actually bend the handle. I'm going to bend it because it's going to be easier to work on. But that is our base. So now we can start adding our flowers. So as I say, I've pre-glued these, so we can just start to pop them in. And we're just going to build this up. So essentially we're making like a big jewel or a big brooch or a big a pad of flowers, really, I suppose would be the best way to put it. But if you think of it like a brooch, you know, a piece of jewellery, that's really what we're making. Now, why have you not got? And actually this frame is going to hold these flowers really well. I've got some eustoma and it is a little bit bigger. So I don't want to overdo it. But we can bring that in and just have it. I've got some little roses, but to be honest, I'm not very happy with them. They're not great. And obviously, if you're doing this for a wedding, your materials need to be in the best condition. But I like using even like the little buds we can use. It's quite cute. Now, so let us know in the comments below, if you're someone who does a lot of wedding work, do you think brides are adventurous? Do you think they always play safe? Do you think they should be more adventurous? I mean, as a florist, you're running a business and you want to be competitive. You want to make things in a easy way, a quick way, and in some ways it's easier to do the same wedding 15 times in one summer than it is to think of something new every time. But we're a creative industry, so we need to make things different as well. But do you think brides are willing to take a risk? Should they take more risks? So I've got little bits of status here as well, which I love. So this is going to give us a little bit of a contrast. Now I'm not worrying too much about the glue at the moment, because the glue is just going to, it's going to have little threads and they're going to be all over the place, and it's easier just to wait until the end and then do like an all over tidy up. But you can see that this just builds up. And it doesn't actually take so much material. What would be interesting about doing this is that you could have your frames pre-made. So you could maybe have a bridal version, but you could, if you were doing this for the bridesmaids, you could have all your little frames ready to go, and it is just a case of doing the gluing on the day. So obviously I'm doing this for a video, so I don't want to keep you here all day. So this is really just showing you this idea, this suggestion for an interesting bridal or bridesmaid's bouquet. So I would spend a little bit more time and I would really be checking it. Generally when I make a bridal bouquet, I'd be looking at taking at least 40 minutes to an hour, so that it's getting the best attention. But with the channel, we're trying to show you some ideas and suggestions. So I hope you like this idea. And it just shows that sometimes we get a little bit of inspiration from places that are not necessarily flower places. So like, as I say, this was from one of those kind of home stores, and you know, why not? There's no reason why that's not a good place to buy something. And that's the same with flowers. If you find like there's a supermarket or something that sells your favourite flowers or a basic flower at a really good price, and you're not having to buy them in big quantities, then just think of that place as essentially a wholesaler and just use it like that. I do have a few little grasses, and I've got little sedums as well, which I think are really cute. So this is all about detail. As I say, we're making like a piece of jewellery. And I'm being careful to keep this quite flat so that we are not losing the actual frame itself. Now you could probably even buy a frame like this and zhuzh it up a bit. So if you had really nice crystals, you could possibly add them, make it a little bit fancier. Would be quite sweet. I'm going to overlay like the odd flower because it looks a little bit flat. We can kind of multi-layer it so that it's not completely flat. I think these little buds are a great way of doing that as well. So like here, where this looks a little bit flat, just bringing in that bud on top looks quite cute. Without throwing it away. Right, I'm quite happy with that in lots of ways. And as you can see, you could just keep going and going and going. What we need to do now is just like any little touch of detail. So like here where we're seeing the backing, is it looking bad or is it looking okay? You could make it that you basically lose that backing completely. Now, I think we've got a really nice jewel of a bouquet. So what we can do now is look at how we would place our grasses. So I quite like this idea of just lying them flat in a random way. Is quite cute, but you could have them coming out as well. There's not a right or a wrong. So if they're coming out, obviously they're going to change the shape of that completely. I'm not gluing these in, I'm just putting them on just to show you that you could get a different effect. But I think what we'll do is we'll lie them flat and so just put a wee bit of glue on each. This glue really is good, so if you don't need a lot, I've probably got too much on. So this can just look like it's landed on the flowers. I wonder if I've got... Yeah, this is what I have as well. Just a few little bits of wax flower. So these are just going to give like little highlights. Now with ones like this, you can actually put a wee bit of glue on them and bring them into a flower. So like if you've got a rose that's got all its nice petals, you can actually put this in between the petals of another flower. So it doesn't have to have its own space. It can just look like a drop of dew basically on a petal, which is really nice. And again, that is just adding to our layered effect. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a little look over it, if there's any glue, and just remove any glue. Okay, so there we go. We've got our little magical bouquet. I think it's kind of special. It's something different. So if you've got an adventurous person who wants to carry something different, then I think this really works. So the advantage of using a frame is that you can glue on your products. Essentially, you're making like a big corsage. So you could have your frame and everything pre-prepared, and then it's just a case of putting the flowers on the day. So what I've done is I've just added 1 or 2 more grasses and a couple of the little button Santini that are in green. So that brought a little pop of colour into there as well. But essentially what we've got is we've got layers and textures and detail, and that's really what you kind of want in a wedding bouquet. So that is what makes this one special. It's nice to hold, it's something completely different. I've laid the grasses on top just to give a contrast in line, but as I say, you could put them so that they come out in a more natural way. It's whatever you want to do. You could also add some other detail that would come across and trail if you want to make this more of a drop style, and this would be the base for the drop as well. So hope you've enjoyed today's video. We've got new videos every week and we would love you to join us for our next one. If you haven't already subscribed, then please click the subscribe button, hit the like button for this video if you've enjoyed it, and if you have enjoyed it, we've got a link in the description for one of our previous videos that you might also find enjoyable to watch. So thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.